Welcome to this explainer. Look out a window for a second. We usually just see a silent green blur, right? A chaotic background. But what if we've been looking at it completely wrong? What if right under the soil, there's an architecture so profound, it literally maps the landscape of our own minds? Today, we're unpacking a monumental framework that takes the wild, overwhelming complexity of nature and organizes it into a precise, healing matrix.
I want you to pause and really sit with this question. What if plants aren't just scenery? What if they're actually complex entities that perfectly mirror our own human suffering, our societal dynamics, and even our deepest emotional states? I know, it sounds like absolute science fiction, but this is the actual bedrock of a truly revolutionary classification system.
Take this bougainvillea, for example. It's stunning, obviously. We love it for that vibrant pop of color. But behind that surface-level beauty, there is a highly precise mathematical taxonomy at play. Every single petal, every branch, every tiny evolutionary adaptation is packed with data. It holds a story. And according to the theory we're exploring today, that story directly correlates to our human experience.
Section 1. The Roots of Plant Theory and Mapping the Flora. Okay, let's dive straight into this. We're moving from wild, chaotic nature into a world of strict, calculated order. This is the life's work of Dr. Scholten, and his plant theory is, at its core, a map. It uses a 7-digit numerical code to navigate the staggering, unbelievable complexity of the entire botanical kingdom. Think of it like a GPS for homeopathic medicine. So instead of just a random collection of plants, every single one gets a specific numerical coordinate that dictates its fundamental essence and its healing properties. Just listen to this observation from Peter Cooper. He says our outer world, with minerals, plants, animals, and so on, is nothing other than an externalization, a folded-out version of our own inner world. That is a staggering thought. It suggests that the true art of healing is about taking the coded information of the natural world and applying it to the exact same patterns of suffering within ourselves. The universe outside is literally the universe inside.
Moving to Section 2. DNA meets the periodic table, expanding dimensions.
To build this map, Scholten didn't just pull categories out of thin air. He actually merged modern DNA-based botanical classification with the periodic table of elements. And the contrast here is pretty wild. The periodic table is rigid, right? It's a finished two-dimensional grid of rows and columns. But the plant kingdom, it's alive. It's an evolving, six-dimensional branching tree. Where element theory only needs 3 dimensions to understand a remedy, plant theory requires 6. We're leaping from the rigid laws of chemistry into the fluid, complex phases of biology.
As you can see here, this perfectly illustrates how universal laws govern our world. In the plant theory, the major branches of the evolutionary tree, the phyla, actually map onto the series of the periodic table. So primitive plants might align with the carbon series, while highly evolved flowering plants align with the silver or gold series. And this branching goes all the way down to the individual leaf, which represents the genus. It's like a giant organic puzzle.
Section 3. Decoding the 7 digits. The Matrix.
So let's step directly into the matrix. How exactly does a living, breathing plant become a set of rigid numbers? Well, the crucial point here is that each number represents a progression in life. Digit 1 is the kingdom. A 3 just means it's a plant. Digits 2 through 4 are the series, which tell us the broad theme, like are we dealing with basic survival or complex relationships? Digits 5 and 6 are the phases, showing how someone fits into a group. And that final digit, the stage. That tells us exactly how a person handles their problem. The whole shebang is a complete psychological profile compressed right into a single number.
633.4613. Just let that stark number sit with you for a second. It looks so cold, doesn't it? Like pure machine code. But beneath that rigid math is a raw, incredibly intense human emotion just waiting to be decoded.
That specific code number actually translates to a plant called Tradescantia virginiana, and its code, specifically ending in stage 13, reveals a deeply emotional portrait. Stage 13 represents someone who feels bitter, used, and angry in a relationship. They desperately want to leave, but they hold it all inside because of this profound loyalty. A precise numerical coordinate literally correlates to the agonizing human reality of feeling trapped.
Section 4. Portraits of Botanical Healing. Grounding the Abstract.
Let's ground this abstract math for a minute and see how it applies to visceral, physical human experiences. Looking at the detailed taxonomy of the Physionalis order here, we see a highly meticulous, ongoing process. Scholten is continuously updating this matrix. He takes obscure, barely understood plant families, calculates where they belong on the grid, and suddenly, bam, their previously unknown healing potential is unlocked for us. Take the azoales, for example. They're a group of succulents. The matrix paints a really intense emotional portrait for them. This profile matches a highly sensitive person who desperately wants to belong, so they just constantly adapt and give in. They carry this deep, heavy feeling of being weird in a strange world. They often have a profound spiritual inner life that society just doesn't accept, so to avoid conflict, they hide their true selves entirely.
Or consider the Brassicaceae family. You probably know them as the cabbage family. Historically, they were called the cruciferae, or cross-bearing flowers. The matrix aligns this specific family with the heavy, heavy burden of a caregiver who's looking after a chronically ill partner. They literally have zero time for themselves, they grow bitter, and they feel completely caught in a trap. And physically, that cross-bearing emotional state manifests as severe abdominal pain and irritable bowels. The emotional and the physical become one and the same.
Section 5. Biopower and Vegetable Life and the Philosophical Turn.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it all connects to a wider academic context. This urge to map plant life ties directly into modern philosophical debates. The philosopher Jeffrey T. Nealon makes a fascinating point here. He argues that plants, rather than animals, are the true forgotten and objected forms of life. In our modern era of ecological crises and biopolitics, we are so hyper-focused on human and animal rights that we completely sideline the vegetable life that literally sustains the entire architecture of our world. Plant theory forces us to look at flora with the absolute gravity it deserves.
Section 6. From Chaos to Clarity, a System in Development.
As we bring this explainer toward a close, we have to recognize the ultimate goal of this massive mapping project. Look at fungi, for instance. In this system, they are actually classified under the heavy, dense uranium series. And this brilliantly illustrates that even the most ancient, unusual, or poorly understood organisms have a precise, heavily calculated place in the matrix. Absolutely nothing is left to pure randomness.
Now, it is true that the underlying DNA classifications, like APG3, are still a work in progress. The map is literally still being drawn as we speak. But categorizing nature like this, it doesn't diminish its magic at all. Instead, it takes a vast, overwhelming chaos and transforms it into ultimate clarity. It gives us a necessary structure, a framework that lets us take the deeply complex, layered diseases of the human mind and body and match them perfectly with nature's own remedies.
I want to leave you with this final thought. When we impose a 7-digit code onto a living, breathing flower, does that urge to mathematically code the natural world reveal a hidden, divine architecture of the universe? Or does it merely mirror the deep, systemic structure of our own human minds? Honestly, either way, the profound connection between the leaf on the branch and the thoughts in our head is absolutely undeniable. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, diving into the hidden order of the botanical world.